Built to Rise: Success Principles for Melanated People and People of African Descent, written by Langston E. Hughes. Chapter 3: Reclaiming the Mind from Survival Programming. A mind trained only to survive will often reject the behaviors required to prosper. Survival is not weakness. Survival is evidence of intelligence under pressure. It means somebody learned how to read danger, stretch money, silence pain, avoid punishment, protect children, move through hostile rooms, and keep breathing when life did not feel safe. Many people of African descent come from families that survived conditions most textbooks still do not fully honor. They survived enslavement, displacement, legal exclusion, stolen labor, segregated schools, housing discrimination, medical mistreatment, economic sabotage, violence, underfunded neighborhoods, and everyday disrespect that was often normalized by the wider society. To survive that much required strategy. But what helps a person survive one season can limit them in another. A clenched fist can protect you in a fight, but it cannot plant seeds. A guarded heart can keep you from being easily wounded, but it can also keep you from receiving love, partnership, mentorship, and correction. A suspicious mind may notice danger quickly, but it may also reject opportunity before it can be examined. A scarcity-trained household may avoid waste, but it may also fear investment. A person who learned not to hope too loudly may call their caution wisdom, when it is really grief trying not to be disappointed again. This chapter is about honoring survival without being ruled by it. You are not wrong for having adapted, but you are responsible for asking whether your adaptations still serve your assignment. What is survival programming? Survival programming is the collection of beliefs, habits, emotional reactions, and expectations a person develops in response to repeated pressure. May sound like do not trust anybody. Money always disappears. People like us have to work twice as hard and still may not get half as far. Do not tell people your plans. If something good happens, something bad is coming. Rest is lazy. Opportunity is for other people. If I make too much progress, people will turn on me. I have to handle everything alone. It is safer not to try than to try and be embarrassed. Some of these statements may contain pieces of lived truth. People have been betrayed. Money has disappeared. Opportunities have been denied. Rest has been mocked. Plans have been sabotaged. Success has sometimes created jealousy. Trying and failing has sometimes brought shame. But a partial truth can become a full prison when it is never updated. Survival programming is not just negative thinking. It is often the nervous system, family system, and community memory working together. It can live in the body as tension. It can live in the calendar as procrastination. It can live in the bank account as avoidance. It can live in relationships as suspicion. It can live in speech as constant warning. It can live in religion as fear without faith. It can live in ambition as overwork without peace. To reclaim the mind, you must first recognize the program. You cannot change what you keep calling just the way I am. The mind learns from repetition. The mind learns from repeated exposure. If a child repeatedly sees adults panic over money, money becomes emotional danger. If a child repeatedly hears that people with wealth are corrupt, wealth becomes morally suspicious. If a child repeatedly sees love paired with chaos, peace may feel unfamiliar later. If a child repeatedly hears that their people are behind, broken, or unlikely to win, achievement may feel like exception rather than expectation. None of this means a person is doomed. It means the mind was trained. What has been trained can be retrained. Public health research on adverse childhood experiences shows that early trauma and instability can affect health, learning, relationships, decision-making, and opportunity across a lifetime. That matters because many people try to change behavior without understanding the roots of the behavior. They shame themselves for procrastination, emotional eating, overspending, isolation, anger, or avoidance without asking what those patterns were originally trying to protect. Shame rarely produces lasting transformation. Awareness can. Support can. Structure can. Practice can. Safe relationships can. Spiritual grounding can. Therapy, counseling, coaching, mentorship, and community accountability can. The mind is not reclaimed by pretending nothing happened. The mind is reclaimed by telling the truth and then building new evidence. Scarcity thinking is one of the most common forms of survival programming. Scarcity says there is never enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough love, not enough opportunity, not enough room, not enough trust, not enough support, not enough chances. Scarcity can make a person cling to what should be released, spend what should be saved, hide what should be shared, reject help that should be received, and compete with people they should cooperate with. Scarcity thinking has two opposite behaviors that come from the same root. One person hoards every dollar, refuses to invest, never enjoys life, and calls fear being responsible. Another person spends quickly, avoids planning, buys symbols of relief, and says, "You only live once." Both may be reacting to the same belief. There will not be enough. One responds by gripping. The other responds by grabbing. Neither is true financial peace. A mind trained for ownership must learn a different sentence. There is enough for me to organize what I have and increase my capacity. This sentence is not fantasy. It does not deny bills, low wages, debt, inflation, medical costs, or unequal access. It simply moves the mind from panic to agency. You may not have enough for everything today, but you may have enough to begin tracking, learning, saving, negotiating, earning, repairing credit, reducing waste, building skill, asking for guidance, or forming a plan. Scarcity says, if I cannot fix everything, I can do nothing. Ownership says, I will begin with the next controllable move. Real-world example. Financial coaching as mental renewal organizations that provide financial education, credit counseling, homeownership preparation, and small business coaching reveal something important. Money problems are rarely only money problems. They are often knowledge problems, confidence problems, access problems, habit problems, and emotional problems woven together. Operation Hope is one example of a national organization that offers financial coaching, credit and money management support, homeownership education, and small business development resources. The larger lesson is not that one organization is the answer for everyone. The lesson is that financial renewal often requires both information and a new mental posture. Many people avoid looking at credit reports because they feel shame. Many avoid budgeting because numbers feel like judgment. Many avoid banks because of bad experiences or distrust. Many avoid business paperwork because it feels intimidating. Many avoid investing because they were never taught the language. But avoidance is expensive. The moment a person sits down with their numbers, shame begins to lose power. The moment they learn what a credit utilization ratio is, confusion loses power. The moment they set an automatic savings transfer, impulse loses power. The moment they ask a trained person for guidance, isolation loses power. Financial literacy is not only about spreadsheets. It is about teaching the nervous system that money can be faced without panic. For people of African descent, this is especially important because many families were not allowed to accumulate assets across generations in the same way others did. Some did not inherit financial instruction because their elders were denied fair access to financial tools. Some inherited caution because caution was rational in the face of exploitation. But now the work is to keep the wisdom and upgrade the strategy. Do not shame the survival pattern. Replace it. The three survival minds survival programming often appears in three forms: the fearful mind, the fighting mind and the frozen mind. The fearful mind avoids. It delays applications, avoids hard conversation, refuses to check account balances, stays in familiar environments, hides gifts, and calls every risk dangerous. Fearful thinking often sounds responsible, but underneath it is the belief, if I move, I may get hurt. The fighting mind attacks. It reads correction as disrespect. It turns every disagreement into a battle. It cannot separate feedback from rejection. It burns bridges and calls it strength. The fighting mind may have protected someone in unsafe environments, but in business, marriage, parenting, and leadership, constant combat becomes costly. The frozen mind shuts down. It gets overwhelmed by choices. It avoids decisions until life decides for it. It knows what needs to be done but cannot begin. It may look lazy from the outside, but often it is carrying unprocessed fear, grief, or exhaustion. Each mind needs a different practice. The fearful mind needs evidence of safe movement. Take small risks. Make one phone call. Open the bill. Ask the question. Apply for the program. Practice being uncomfortable without calling it danger. The fighting mind needs a pause between feeling and response. Breathe before answering. Ask, what is actually being said? Learn to receive correction without surrendering dignity. Choose battles by purpose, not ego. The frozen mind needs smaller steps. Break the task down until the first action feels almost too small to resist. Do not fix your whole life today. Clear the desk. Send the email. Walk for 10 minutes. Read 2 pages. Save $5. Begin. A renewed mind is not one that never feels fear, anger, or overwhelm. A renewed mind is one that has practices stronger than its first reaction. The survival script audit. A script is a repeated inner message. Some scripts are inherited. Some are learned from experience. Some are absorbed from media. Some are built from trauma. Some are passed down in jokes, warnings, sermons, arguments, and family stories. To reclaim the mind, audit the scripts. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about money. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about love. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about success. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about people of African descent. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about your body. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about rest. Write down the sentence that plays in your head when you think about leadership. Then ask, where did I learn this? Is it fully true? Did it protect someone in another season? Does it serve my purpose now? What would a wiser sentence be? This exercise may feel simple, but do not underestimate it. People live inside sentences. A sentence repeated for years can become a ceiling. A new sentence repeated with action can become a doorway. Old script, money never stays with us. Wiser sentence, money stays where there is structure, instruction, and discipline. New action, review spending weekly and save first, even if the amount is small. Old script, I cannot trust anyone. Wiser sentence, trust should be earned through time, consistency, and clear agreements. New action, build relationships slowly with boundaries and communication. Old script, rest is laziness. Wiser sentence, rest protects my assignment and helps me think clearly. New action, schedule recovery as part of productivity. Old script, people like me do not get opportunities like that. Wiser sentence, opportunity responds to preparation, relationships, visibility, and persistence. New action, prepare the application, portfolio, pitch, resume, or proposal. The goal is not to lie to yourself. The goal is to speak truth that creates movement. Real-world example, reading as liberation across the history of African-descended people in the Americas and beyond. Literacy has often been connected to freedom. Reading was not only a school skill. It was a tool of self-definition, spiritual interpretation, legal awareness, organizing, business, and escape from mental confinement. Frederick Douglass famously understood that learning to read changed the direction of his mind. He saw literacy as more than letters on a page. It gave him language for his condition and imagination for freedom. That principle still matters. A person who does not read must rely heavily on what is told to them. A person who reads can compare, question, study, remember, and prepare. Reading is one of the simplest ways to interrupt survival programming because it introduces the mind to evidence beyond its immediate environment. If no one around you owns a business, a book can introduce you to business thinking. If your family never discussed investing, a book can introduce you to financial language. If your community never discussed emotional health, a book can give names to patterns you thought were personal failures. If school gave you a narrow version of African history, reading can restore stolen context. But reading must become active. Do not only collect books, let them confront you. Underline what challenges your habits. Write down one action after each chapter. Discuss what you learn with serious people. Teach one idea to someone else. Build a reading rhythm for your household. A family that reads together changes the mental atmosphere. A child who sees adults reading for growth learns that learning is not punishment. A community that studies together becomes harder to manipulate. Reading is not the whole answer, but it is one of the most available doors. The mental diet the body responds to what it consumes. So does the mind. If a person eats food that weakens the body every day, eventually the body sends a message. If a person consumes fear, conflict, gossip, humiliation, envy, outrage, and foolishness every day, the mind also sends a message. It may show up as anxiety, cynicism, distraction, irritability, hopelessness, or constant comparison. You cannot build a focused life with an unfocused mental diet. This does not mean you ignore reality. People of African descent have no need for fake positivity that pretends injustice does not exist. Awareness matters. News matters. History matters. Civic attention matters. But endless exposure without organized action can become mental poison. Ask yourself after I consume this, am I more prepared or more scattered? Am I more courageous or more afraid? Am I more informed or merely more provoked? Am I being called to action or trapped in outrage? Am I learning strategy or rehearsing helplessness? Your attention is one of your most valuable assets. Companies spend billions trying to capture it. Political machines try to direct it. Entertainment platforms try to monetize it. Fear-based media tries to keep it activated. If you do not govern your attention, someone else will rent your mind and charge you peace as the price. Create a mental diet morning. Begin with silence, prayer, reflection, reading, or planning before entering the noise of the day. Midday. Consume one piece of useful knowledge related to your purpose, money, health, craft, or spiritual growth. Evening. Reduce digital stimulation before sleep. Review the day. Write down one lesson and one next action. Weekly. Study with others. Discuss ideas that build. Replace 1 hour of entertainment with 1 hour of skill development. Monthly. Fast from one source of noise that has been shaping your mood more than your purpose. Your mind should not be a public hallway where every voice gets to enter. Emotional inheritance families pass down more than recipes, photographs, land, and last names. They pass down emotional habits. Some families pass down silence. Nobody talks about pain, so pain becomes behavior. Some pass down explosion. Every feeling becomes a confrontation. Some pass down suspicion. Every outsider is a threat, and every insider must prove loyalty. Some pass down shame. Mistakes are not corrected, they are used to define people. Some pass down overwork. Rest is treated as weakness until the body collapses. Some pass down spiritual fear. Faith becomes more about punishment than love, wisdom, courage, or responsibility. Some pass down avoidance. Bills, sickness, grief, addiction, and conflict are ignored until they become emergencies. To reclaim the mind, You must ask what emotional inheritance you received and what emotional inheritance you are leaving. This does not require blaming your family. Blame often stops growth because it keeps attention fixed backward. But honesty is necessary. You can love your people and still tell the truth about patterns that need to end. A mature sentence sounds like this: I understand why this pattern existed, and I choose not to continue it. That sentence carries compassion and authority. Maybe your grandmother stayed silent because she had no safe place to speak. Maybe your father overworked because survival demanded it. Maybe your mother worried constantly because life taught her danger was always near. Maybe your uncle avoided doctors because medical systems had not earned his trust. Maybe your family never discussed money because money was always connected to stress. Understanding the origin can soften judgment, but understanding does not require repetition. You can honor people and still upgrade the pattern. Therapy, coaching, and wise counsel. Some people hear the word therapy and think it means something is wrong with them. That belief has cost many families peace. Seeking help does not mean you are broken beyond repair. It means you are serious about becoming whole. People hire trainers for the body, coaches for business, tutors for school, advisors for money, and mechanics for cars. The mind and heart deserve skilled support too. For melanated people and people of African descent, there may be additional layers. Some have had bad experiences with institutions. Some worry they will not be understood culturally. Some were raised to keep family matters private. Some were taught to pray but not to process. Some were taught to endure but not to heal. Prayer and therapy do not have to be enemies. Faith and counseling do not have to compete. Spiritual practice, wise elders, culturally aware therapists, mentors, support groups, coaches, pastors, imams, teachers, and disciplined friends can each serve different roles. The key is discernment. Not everyone is qualified to guide your healing. Choose people with character, skill, boundaries, and respect for your humanity. There are seasons when self-help is not enough. If you are dealing with severe depression, thoughts of self-harm, addiction, domestic violence, trauma symptoms, or emotional distress that makes daily life difficult, seek immediate professional support or emergency help in your area. Strength includes knowing when the weight should not be carried alone. The goal is not to become dependent on another person to think for you. The goal is to build enough support and skill that your mind becomes clearer, steadier, and more available for purpose. From hypervigilance to discernment, hypervigilance is always scanning for danger. Discernment is wisely evaluating reality. They are not the same. Hypervigilance says, something bad is always about to happen. Discernment says, I will pay attention without surrendering my peace. Hypervigilance assumes threat. Discernment gathers evidence. Hypervigilance exhausts the body. Discernment protects energy. Hypervigilance often reacts from old wounds. Discernment responds from present wisdom. Many people of African descent have had to become excellent readers of rooms. They notice tone, posture, silence, coded language, facial expression, and shifts in treatment. This ability can be useful. It can also become tiring when it never turns off. The goal is not to become naive. The goal is to become governed. Before you react, ask, what do I know for certain? What am I assuming? Is this situation actually dangerous, or does it remind me of something dangerous? What response protects my dignity and my purpose? Do I need to act now, or can I gather more information? Who can help me think clearly? These questions create space between trigger and action. Space is power. In that space, you can choose strategy instead of reflex. Replacing survival habits with ownership habits. A survival habit is a behavior designed mainly to get through. An ownership habit is a behavior designed to build, protect, and multiply. Survival habit, avoiding bills. Ownership habit, reviewing finances every week. Survival habit, spending to feel better. Ownership habit, creating a small joy budget and a larger wealth plan. Survival habit, keeping every idea secret out of fear. Ownership habit, sharing selectively with trustworthy people who can help execute. Survival habit, working until exhaustion. Ownership habit, building rest into the system so work can be sustained. Survival habit, reacting to disrespect immediately. Ownership habit, choosing the response that protects the larger mission. Survival habit, saying yes to every family request out of guilt. Ownership habit, practicing generosity with boundaries. Survival habit, waiting until crisis to pray, plan, or seek help. Ownership habit, maintaining daily practices before crisis arrives. Survival habit, learning only when forced. Ownership habit, studying every week because growth is part of identity. This replacement process must be practical. Do not try to replace every habit at once. Choose one survival habit that is costing you the most and create one ownership habit to interrupt it. If avoidance is costing you money, begin with weekly financial review. If anger is costing you relationships, begin with the pause rule. If exhaustion is costing you health, begin with a sleep boundary. If distraction is costing you purpose, begin with a morning focus block. If isolation is costing you growth, begin with one wise conversation each week. Small habits are not small when repeated. Real-world example: the barbershop and beauty salon as healing spaces in many African-descended communities. Barbershops and beauty salons have long been more than places of grooming. They have served as informal counseling rooms, business networking spaces, news centers, cultural classrooms, and places where people speak more freely than they might in official institutions. This matters because healing often begins where trust already exists. A person may not attend a workshop titled Mental Health, but they may open up in the chair while getting a haircut. A young person may not request formal mentorship, but they may listen to an elder in the shop. A parent may not know where to find resources, but a stylist may know which counselor, school program, community fund, or local business can help. The larger principle is simple. Use trusted spaces to create new conversations. What spaces already exist in your community? Churches, mosques, temples, barbershops, salons, gyms, kitchens, union halls, classrooms, group chats, family reunions, fraternities, sororities, cultural centers, sports teams, music studios, libraries, and small businesses can become places where survival programming is interrupted. Not every space needs to become formal. Sometimes the shift begins with better questions. Instead of only asking, "How you been?" ask, "What are you building this season?" Instead of only talking about who is struggling, ask, "What support would actually help?" Instead of only discussing problems, ask, "What system can we create?" Instead of only saying, "Stay strong," ask, "Where do you need help carrying this?" Culture changes when ordinary conversations become more honest and more constructive. The daily renewal practice reclaiming the mind requires repetition. A single breakthrough can open the door, but daily practice keeps it open. Here is a simple daily renewal practice named the truth. Begin the day by speaking one true sentence over your identity and purpose. Example: I'm a person of African descent with the responsibility to build with discipline, wisdom, and courage. Review the assignment. Read your purpose statement or write your top 3 priorities for the day. Interrupt the old script. Identify one survival script likely to appear today. Decide your replacement response before the trigger arrives. Example: if I feel overwhelmed, I will take one small action instead of shutting down. Feed the mind. Read, listen to, or study something that strengthens your purpose. Keep one promise. Choose one promise you can complete today. Make it specific. Review without shame. At night, ask, what did I learn? Where did I react from survival? Where did I act from ownership? What is tomorrow's next move? This practice can take 15 minutes. The power is not in the length. The power is in the repetition. The mind begins to trust the person who keeps promises. The community renewal practice. Personal renewal matters, but people heal faster inside supportive environments. Create a small circle of 3 to 5 serious people. This does not have to be dramatic. It can meet twice a month by phone, video, or in person. The purpose is to interrupt isolation and build accountability. Use 4 questions. What are you building? What survival pattern showed up recently? What ownership habit are you practicing? What support, resource, or accountability do you need before we meet again? Keep the circle practical. Avoid turning it into a gossip session, complaint session, or performance space. The goal is not to impress one another. The goal is to become freer, clearer, and more disciplined. Set rules: confidentiality, honesty without humiliation, encouragement joined to action, no rescuing without responsibility. No advice from people unwilling to practice. Respect for faith, therapy, culture, and different life experiences. This is how a mastermind begins in real life. Not with wealthy strangers in a boardroom, but with serious people deciding to think, heal, and build together. The ownership mind and ownership mind does not mean owning everything materially. It means taking responsibility for what is yours to govern. Own your attention. Own your schedule. Own your speech. Own your healing. Own your learning. Own your money decisions. Own your body. Own your relationships. Own your craft. Own your response. Own your contribution. This does not mean blaming yourself for every condition around you. There are real systems, histories, policies, and barriers that shape life. Denying them is not wisdom, but neither is surrendering all power to them. The ownership mind asks, given reality, what can I still govern? That question returns power to the hands. If the school is weak, what can be taught at home? If the job is limiting, what skill can be developed after work? If the neighborhood lacks resources, what partnership can be formed? If the family avoids hard conversations, what safe conversation can begin? If money is tight, what can be tracked, reduced, increased, or learned? If the body is tired, what rhythm can restore energy? If the mind is anxious, what support and practice can create steadiness? Ownership begins where excuses end and responsibility becomes specific. When the old mind fights back, expect resistance. The old mind will not disappear just because you read a chapter. It may fight back when you try to change. It may say, "Who do you think you are? This will not work. You always quit. People will laugh. It is too late. You do not have enough. You are being fake. Just do what is familiar. Do not be shocked." The old mind is trying to protect the old identity. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar freedom. Answer with evidence. Not drama, evidence. You keep the appointment, you open the account, you read the pages, you make the call, you take the walk, you apologize, you set the boundary, you save the money, you ask for help, you finish the small task. Evidence teaches the mind that change is real. Every kept promise is a vote for the chosen self. This week's work, this chapter becomes real when you identify one old program and interrupt it with one new practice. Set aside 1 hour this week and complete the following. Write down 3 survival scripts you inherited or developed. Identify whether each script usually produces fear, fighting, freezing, overworking, overspending, avoiding, or isolating. Write one wiser replacement sentence for each script. Choose one ownership habit to practice daily for 7 days. Create a simple mental diet. One morning practice, one learning source, and one noise source you will reduce. Have one honest conversation with a trusted person about a pattern you are working to change. Keep one promise to yourself every day this week, even if the promise is small. Small promises rebuild self-trust. Declaration: I honor the survival of those who came before me, but I will not be ruled by survival programming. I can tell the truth about pain without making pain my identity. I can retrain my mind through awareness, support, disciplined language, wise counsel, spiritual grounding, and repeated action. I release scripts that keep me afraid, reactive, frozen, or small. I choose ownership habits. I choose a mental diet that strengthens purpose. I choose to become a clear, steady, disciplined builder for myself, my family, my community, and those coming after me. Closing thought: the third law of melanated success is this: do not let survival be the ceiling. Survival brought you this far. Respect it, study it, thank it when necessary, but do not confuse survival with freedom. You were not born only to endure pressure. You were born with the capacity to learn, heal, create, organize, lead, love, own, and build. The mind that got you through may not be the same mind that carries you forward. So train the next mind.